Hey, Wong.
If you can rely on nothing else in life, you can rely that Sewon will be there on time.
He did say that Van was on time for the event yesterday, so that's good to know. Hi, guys. I am back.
Woo! Mezzo's back.
Mezzo has returned. I was gone for 2 weekends in a row. Well, no. I was here for the 2 weeks ago, but I got home like that day.
Right.
But I was gone last weekend. I was on my way back into the US from Mexico. And it was hard work, but I enjoyed what I could. What's up, Mixed Oreo? Also had everyone. Hi, Say Wong. Hi, Cam. How y'all doing? Hi, Yoda. Oh, Yoda. Welcome back.
Yoda. Oh, Yoda.
Much. I appreciate it. We worked very hard, and I have a short clip for you guys to see. Did you have like a question or two about it, Van, to like tell people about what it was, or?
No, you can tell people about it. I was very excited. I fortunately got to see the longer director's cut of this little video.
He did. So for my church, we do a mission trip every year to Mexico. I'm not here to preach to you. I'm just explaining what it was. And this year I finally got to go for the first time in 18 years. I was very excited to go. Hi, Alex.
What's up, Alex?
And it's you go there, you show up, you work with hand tools only, no power tools, and you build a small structure that's another home for a family that needs it. And this family definitely did. It was a married couple with 2 kids, and they had a third one due in a month. And we actually found out.
Wasn't she like in the hospital or something?
She was in the hospital the last day we worked. So we have not heard an update yet about how she is. But my children came with us, and we all worked very hard. And so I have a short clip just to show you, to give you kind of an idea of how it was going. So enjoy this.
And thank you for appreciating the hat cam.
That was my oldest conked out on the way back into the US. That's how all of us felt at that moment. Like,
I thought it was a great representative shot of like the whole experience.
Yeah, you're exhausted afterwards. You're camping in tents while you're there. They do make you breakfast and dinner, and you make your own lunch to eat while at work. Right. But it was very rewarding, and I'm very happy I got to go. My body did not do great, this is the last year.
I was concerned about the entire time.
I know, Van. It's the last year I've gone, and I probably won't be able to go again. I'm not going to go into details about my body and the way it was, but just know that it suffered. All right.
There was a little bit of recovery that had to happen.
Yes, but moving on, you know what it's time for.
Nerdy news!
Time for the nerdy news. All right, first of the nerdy news, guys, is open to all starting tomorrow. The Star Wars Celebration Shop. If you missed out on merch or you wanted to get some for your own and were unable to attend, it is open tomorrow for all of you. So check out in the description below for the link to the article about it and the link to the store itself.
Disney's just trying to keep me broke. That's all.
Yeah,
that's all this is. It's a ploy to keep me broke.
Keeping people broke and stuff. Don't forget to check out the KCP merch shop that I just posted the link to in the description, not the description, in the chat.
We have things like lovely water bottles.
Yes, water bottles. We have mugs.
Cups.
We have backpacks. My purse. I use my backpack as my purse now. It's not
mine's in my other room.
Because I need to keep by the door. Yes, Star Wars Celebration Store, say one. That is correct. So don't forget to check out the KCP merch. If you look at our Facebook, there's actually a code for 10% off that goes through the month of June for Pride Month. So check the Facebook posts to see what the code is, and you could get something for 10% off. Just
10% off your very own KCP merchandise. What a value! What a deal!
Yeah, come on. All right. Next on the news is Marvel announces new release dates for all of these movies. Every single one except Deadpool were delayed. Deadpool was actually moved up by like months or something like that. And so these are the current release dates for these movies. There's Captain America, Brave New World, Thunderbolts, Blade, the new Deadpool, Fantastic Four, Avengers, The Kang Dynasty, and Avengers Secret Wars. All of these are delayed to these dates currently. Deadpool was actually moved up, so that one's not delayed at all.
And I am so excited with the changes that have happened in Disney. I think it's very obvious now when you looked at Phase 4 and how much stuff was just crammed in there. It seems obvious that the higher ups at Disney were coming to Kevin Feige and saying, hey, we need more product, which is why a lot of people were complaining about the quality of product that was coming out. I feel so much better about this schedule. It feels like they're pushing things back and giving things enough time to breathe. So that it's just not boom, 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 boom. Because I do feel like I hear a lot of people saying they're getting the superhero burnout.
And for me, it was like I was getting multiverse burnout.
Yeah, that's another complaint that I've heard as well.
It was just hard to like keep up with and understand. How's everybody doing, Alex? I am doing swell. I am back home. I'm dealing with recovery, I'll say, of my Mexico trip. But I am doing well.
And so I chopped off my hair yesterday.
Yes, I saw the picture on your profile page. I was shocked. I've only ever known you with longer hair. So next time I see you, I'll have to be like, whoa, is your head cool now? Is it like not as hot? All right, guys. So if you want to check out the article in the description below, it talks about the release dates, and so you can check that out as well. It tells you the original date that they were supposed to come out and the new release date. My graphic that I just made for you is only this one. So that is the end of your nerdy news.
Yay. By the way, I love the new background you have on the back too.
Thank you, guys. Look at the background. Wait.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, I switched this. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was time for a refresh.
I like it.
There. Good. So, all right, moving on. You guys know we have James Kaiser on our show, who is the producer for Flow of the show. Every week he finds a flow artist that is something visually mesmerizing, whether it be fire dancing, gloving, or saber spinning. This week's artist is Pedro Moltke-Leth. I can't say it. Moltke-Leth. I'm so sorry, Pedro, if I got that wrong. Hi, Graveyard. If you think Van's hat is nice, watch Retro Alcove tomorrow. All the DN merch.
Ooh. And I noticed yesterday on Saturday morning Nerd Out, you were wearing the Retro Alcove
shirt. And this is a shirt for my trip, my Mexico trip.
Oh, nice.
A more miniature. Oh, sorry, microphone. Sorry, everybody at home. All right, guys. So enjoy your flow of the show this week, and thank you, James Kaiser, for bringing that to us. Enjoy. Yes, so check out Pedro. You can find him on Facebook. Eric Douglas, how are you? He said this is insanely impressive. It was,
and even that guy, every single person we've seen that does fire always have long hair. I don't get it.
That's crazy. That original video is actually like 4 minutes long, and it's actually very interesting. But our producer suggested cutting it short if it felt like it was quite long, especially since we did have other clips that we were showing today more than usual. All right. So thank you, James Kaiser, for bringing that to us. Sir, you want to take it from here?
Yes. I am excited about our next guest that we have tonight. Very interestingly, if you've followed this channel for a while, you know we have the 10th annual Saber Battle coming up on August 4th. And on some of our channels, I talked about how Kyber Cave has a personal connection to that event, in that when my son and I went to that event, it was that event that helped us decide to try to bring this to Fairfield. I have a personal connection with Dave, our next guest, because I feel like it's the universe's way of telling me I'm moving in the right direction. I'm working with the right people. But my son, when he was younger, the very first con I ever took him to, and I don't know why I took him to this con because it's not near my house, but for some reason I was online. I was looking for a con to take my son to, and I saw this con called Campbell Con. And I was like, well, hey, you know what? Let me take my son out to that. And we had the most amazing, my son was a Ghostbuster. We had the most amazing time. Turns out CampbellCon would eventually blow up and blossom into this whole network of other cons led by our guest tonight, Mr. Dave Haworth. And I am excited to talk to him and find out about how all of that happened. So with no further ado, please give it up for Mr. Dave Haworth.
Wow. Hello. Nice to be here. What a great intro.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing really well. For a Sunday, how it is on Sunday, it's a lot of relaxation, but I was interested more about your story of CampbellCon. Wow, that was a blast from the past.
It was, and it was very strange to me because I live in Fairfield, so it's not necessarily like it was a con next door in our next town or anything. And I can't even really remember. Maybe it was the guest that you had on that first con, but there was something I was like, oh, I got to take my kid to this. This would be a really good first experience. And I especially appreciate, and I remember it not being a super expensive con. It wasn't like, $30 or $40 to go take my kid. It was something where I could test it out. If he didn't like the whole con life, it was cheap enough that I didn't feel like, I blew, an entire paycheck on it or something like that.
Right. Yeah. We started, CampbellCon, the first CampbellCon was 10 years ago, just about. And, our prices have not gone up really, not that much since then. We've kept it to the bare bones so everyone could afford to go. But CampbellCon was just an amazing experience. It was a lot of fun. It was just the beginnings of something that we didn't know how things were going to happen, how things were going to blossom. We had CampbellCon, the first one, 2015, and it just kind of exploded and kind of took on a life of its own. And then it just planted other cons around it, and eventually moved to Reno like the Raiders moved to Vegas. So, it was interesting.
So CampbellCon was your first experience at putting together something like this, right?
Right. How that pretty much all happened is I used to be a guest. I used to go to cons as a special guest, signing autographs and what have you. And my agent at the time, Marina, would come to all these events with me. Right. And she started learning the inner workings of conventions. And, she's big in business. She's worked for British companies and, other international companies. And we were at a convention and she said to me, I think I could do one of these conventions. And I said, what are you talking about?
Right.
She says, I think I can do one. I said, no, I don't think so. It's just too much. And she says, I think I can. I said, I'll tell you what. If you think you can do it, I'll bring some guests. And I had some friends who were Marvel, DC artists, and some actors.
Right.
And I said, you do what you think you can do, and I'll get the actors. And that's kind of how it happened. And CampbellCon was born.
Right.
Now,
sorry. Can I ask you? You were saying that you first originally started doing this as a guest. Forgive my ignorance, but what did you do before this that would have you come on as con as guests?
Yeah, I noticed you had one photo of me in your intro doing a speech at a university in Kyiv, Ukraine,
Right.
back in the day, and that was, I think, back in 2013. And I still am a writer. I write books, fantasy novels. I started with TSR, working with them on some novels and some behind the scenes stuff like monster manuals. And,
Yeah, I was gonna say TSR is like Dungeons and Dragons, right?
right.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I just got tired of the big publishing company and left, and I continued to write books, and I think I've written 5 books since then. So, and then after during the conventions, we started writing comic books for the conventions, and that's what I'm doing now. I'm still writing books. It just takes a lot longer to write them because I am doing conventions full time now. But
right.
I'll never stop writing, and that's how I became a guest. Is for shows. I was never doing conventions. I was doing book tours at Barnes and Nobles and Borders.
Right.
A lot of Eastern Europe tours and European tours. In Eastern Europe, for authors, I was the David Hasselhoff equivalent. In Ukraine, I can have a line, 4 blocks long,
right,
for autograph signings, where in the United States, I may have a line maybe just a little bit out the door of a Barnes and Noble.
Right.
I was more popular in Eastern Europe, but I was still doing signings here for Barnes and Nobles and Borders, and Borders started to close in things. And we thought, well, with this new technology of books being on these little computer screens, how can we change it up? And Marina came up with the idea of doing conventions. So that's how we started doing conventions. And then she just started understanding the behind the scenes of how conventions are ran.
Right.
And that's just how it happened. So amazing story.
On a personal level, do you prefer being on the artist side or the producer side on the conventions?
Ooh, that's a good question, because on the artist side, it's very easy. You take care of your table, you sit there and you talk to fans, and you can eat all day at the green room. Producing it takes a year to produce a real show. It takes a year to produce it, and to get celebrities and to negotiate contracts and get flights and hotels and all the inner workings of it. So, the lazy side of me prefers just being a guest.
Right.
It's a lot of fun. Shows are a lot of fun. If you're producing one, they're still fun, but in a different way. You're working for the people who are attending. So what makes you happy is watching the kids have a good time and smile, and people are gaining a life experience. So that's the different thing about it. If most people will only see me during a convention, like distance nerding, I don't think they've ever seen me outside of conventions. So they've never truly seen me as myself. I'm always tired.
You're in show mode. You're in work mode.
I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I'm always worried about something, and always trying to make sure everyone has a good time. And so I've never seen me really relaxed.
Right. I have produced 3 conventions myself. Now, nowhere near the scale of what you do. So I definitely have an idea. I kind of equate it to running a wedding. You know what I mean? There's so many little components that you have to take care of, and then you kind of bunch them together and make sure everything gets done. So I'm going to be coming out. I'm going to be at Silver Age, the Silver Age event in Reno. So you're telling me that took a year. That whole process started a year ago to start contacting the celebrities and getting your venue and things like that?
Yeah. CampbellCon, moved to Reno, and we rebranded Silver Age just because after COVID, the whole world changed.
Right.
So we felt that Reno needed its own show. with its own name and its own official superhero, which is Silver Age. And if you've read Team Colossus issue number 4, or I'm sorry, Team Colossus Origins, if you can see that,
Yes.
number 2 with Silver Age, it goes into how Agent Campbell, who was the mascot of CampbellCon, turns into Silver Age. So it's the show and the comic book, they all coincide with each other.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun to find out how the character from CampbellCon turned into Silver Age. You know, it's very interesting. And I don't want to get off tangents or try to answer everything, but you know, so Silver Age needed to be its own thing for the people of Nevada, and you know, and it's been great. You know, last year it was at Circus,
right?
And it was just, we needed more room. It was that simple.
Wow!
And so we moved it to Sparks Reno Convention Center. And you know, it takes a good year. So you know, we have six shows, possibly 7 for next year. So once Circus ended, last year's Silver Age ended. The next we take at least 2 days off,
right?
But then we start on the next year to come, right?
Wow!
But as we're starting that process, we also understand we have 3 other shows to do for the same year.
Right.
So you're always thinking the year ahead of time,
right.
But you're also thinking in the present for the shows that you're going to be doing next, and then a little towards the future for the show after the next show. You know, so your head is always swiveling and you're always working for every show, but each show takes a year, and you're doing them all simultaneously.
Say Wong says, "Gaff, 7 shows a year."
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but we have a lot of, you know, we have people. We have like an inner crew that helps,
right?
And then we have you know, volunteers that you know, they are. I mean, without them, forget about it.
Right.
I don't think I'd be alive today without the volunteers.
Right.
You know,
now,
they do so much.
Very interestingly, I know, like with a lot of the big shows, like, you know, and I'm a vendor. We have a store here in California. I tend to do shows that are, say, about a 2 to 3 hour radius of my storefront. But now you're going into Idaho, Oregon, or you go to Washington as well. Is that correct?
No, not Washington.
I'm sorry.
You know, we're the way we think of conventions, it's more of the old school way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there is a convention, a good convention in a city, we do not go to that city because someone has already taken it, and we have respect for other conventions. So we always say we don't want to go into someone else's refrigerator without asking.
Right.
So, you know, this is why we don't go into Sacramento, this is in other cities, because there's already a good show there. There doesn't need to be lots and lots of shows in one city. One show a year, 2 shows a year is good enough, and that's fine. And we respect other people's territories. So we try to find areas that, you know, that don't have conventions, you know, so that's what we do. And when we went to Bend, Oregon 3 weeks ago, we realized there's no show there. So next year we're going to have, for the first annual year, Beaver State Comic Con in Bend, Oregon. And so they're going to be very excited about it. And so, yeah, we don't like to step on other people's toes. We don't like to make enemies with other promoters.
Right.
And we don't want to overload the fans with too many shows. You know, we want to make sure that even if it's not our show, that the shows that are not ours, people are still excited for, you know. So that's what it's about.
So does that, okay, I got a couple of questions. My head is exploding with questions right now. So does that mean, okay, so you have a new show starting Bend, Oregon. Does that mean you'll have a new superhero?
Yes. And Marina, our Lukiantseva, our CEO, basically created the character, and it's going to be our very first non-human character. Kind of think of Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy, but a comedian, not so hard-edged, a comedian,
right,
and a beaver.
right.
And
Wow. Okay.
yeah, and that character will be introduced in the comic books that we have at the convention. So
Nice.
You'll be able to find out all about that character. And someone had mentioned the Bay
Yes.
Area in San Jose.
Yeah, so Say Wong has, and this is very interesting. This is some of the questions that I wanted to ask you. He says, first off, he said, I guess the Bay Area is out of the question, just because you and I both know the Bay Area is just flooded with cons. We literally, at the end of this show, if you're still tuning in, right after your segment, we do a segment called California Con Report, where our guy literally goes to a different, at least one or two, every single weekend. He's at a different con. And he does video of what they're doing there. And then he tells you about up and coming cons. So, I mean, obviously the Bay Area is just absolutely infiltrated. But then he also mentions Silicon's demise, the Adam Savage. Do you think there's any chance of you coming out to San Jose?
I'm born and raised San Jose. That's my stomping ground. I was born and raised there. And so I love San Jose.
Right.
And, of course, Campbell Con is adjacent to San Jose. So I was living in the Bay Area when we started all that.
Mm-hmm.
We do have Powerhouse Comic Con that is in Pleasanton, California. Yeah. And that's been on its 8th year now. Next year will be his 8th show, right. 8th year. And that is our Bay Area show. We won't go into San Jose only because there is another convention that is there at the Holiday Inn in downtown. Mm-hmm. And, we respect that promoter. And so we will not go into San Jose unless there's no more events there. For example, Reno, there was no Comic-Con in Reno when we went in there. So, right. And right now we're still the only one. So, and hopefully it stays that way, but you never know.
I find it very interesting with you. You're very old school in that, you were talking about having respect for other cons that are there. But do you feel like maybe you don't always get that same respect? Do you sometimes feel like people kind of trying to crowd in on what you're doing, or maybe they see that you do well at Salt Lake, so they're like, hey, I want to go up there and start doing one too?
That is a very, very interesting question. And I have to say that, you're right. We do a show in Boise, Idaho. It's 40,000 attendees.
Wow.
It's a huge show. And this year there's 3 other shows that cropped up. And all the promoters are promoters who went to Gem State Comic Con. That's what it's called. And they looked around and thought, wow, this is amazing. And we're going to try to emulate it.
Right.
And there was a show last year that tried, but it didn't work out for them. So a lot of times, a lot of people will go to let's say FanX in Salt Lake.
Right.
And they'll say, wow, this is amazing. We're going to do everything they do. So first year show, they do 3 days, all the bells and whistles. They get these guests. They spend about, let's say, $40,000. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then it completely fails, and it was a 1-year show, and you never hear from them again. Mm-hmm. And you hear, there's a lot of 1-year shows that happen, and you never hear from them again because they went over the top. They tried to do everything that, for example, Salt Lake did,
right?
And they don't have the war chest for it. So,
right.
And you have to start slowly, and you have to slowly progress.
Right.
You just can't throw everything all in the first year, and for, let's say Reno, it was Circus, a good venue, a smaller venue than what we have now. And then when that did amazing, we moved up to the bigger venue.
Right.
And then, we'll move up from there, and there's a progression. And you'll notice this year that the special guests are a little bit, I guess use the word bigger than last year. And then it slowly progresses to better and better every year. But, you just can't be unless you have loads of money.
Right.
There's no way. I mean, to do a basic convention at least you have to have 20 grand. I mean, if people are thinking about starting a convention now, one of the promoters that they still are promoters and do shows. They do shows in Bakersfield, Bake Anime, MouseCon, those are shows. And he had told me a long time ago to be an official Comic-Con, you have to have at least 2 actors and 2 artists and at least 65 tables. And so the very first CampbellCon, it was a small show. We had more than 65 tables, at least 2 actors and at least 2, comic book celebrities. And you have to have that minimum to actually kind of qualify to call yourself a Comic-Con.
Okay.
And that's kind of the standard we go by. And that's kind of the old school standard.
Right.
And so, I hope that basically answers your question, but it's, a lot, but basically there's shows that don't respect us and like we respect them, and they'll come in and they'll do some stuff and then they won't be back again. Like Powerhouse has been there going on 8 years. You know how many Bay Area shows we've seen come and gone in 8 years?
Right.
And none of our shows are gone. Sometimes we'll move them. Like we had California Republic Comic-Con in Merced. And then what happened is we planned on moving that to Placerville. And then we had COVID. And then we moved it back to Merced and had it in Merced. And then we moved it back to Placerville. And then there was the mosquito fire. And so we couldn't do the show then. And then we said, well, let's not do Placerville because there's been 2 major fires there in 2 years.
Right.
It's not a good number. And, Merced lost their airport for LA commuters. So there's no airport from LA going into the small Merced airport, which means there's no way we can get actors in. So what's the point of doing a show where you can't get the actors there? So if you've read the comic book, the latest one, Team Collosus #4, it explains what happened to Captain California, the mascot of California Republic Comic-Con.
Right.
And you kind of get an idea fictional of what happened.
Right.
But the secret is exclusive here. He will eventually be back at some capacity. Yeah, at some capacity.
Nice. Now, let me ask you, when you're booking out these celebrities, I know last year, I want to say at Powerhouse, you had Captain America, the original Cap Brown, maybe is his last name.
Reb Brown, yeah.
Yeah. How do you determine, like, okay, you're doing 7 shows a year, 6, 7 shows a year. How do you determine, hey, I think this celebrity would be good in California, but this one is more of an Oregon celebrity? Or is it just based on their schedule and what they're available to do? Or do you have celebrities that rotate and go to all your shows, or how does that work?
We have a rule for our headliners. They appear once and they never return, right?
Wow.
So once Captain America, for example, was at Powerhouse, Reb Brown, he appears once and he'll never come back. That's it. That's his appearance.
Man.
And we tell fans, if you want to see him, you better come out and see him because he'll never be back at our show. Anyway, he'll never be back. Right. So you better seize the day and come out and see him. Take some PTO, whatever it takes to come out and see him because he'll never be back. And so what happens is, like CampbellCon, our very first CampbellCon, our very first guest was Lana Wood. And, I got off the phone with Lana Wood and I couldn't believe I was talking to her. I couldn't believe I bought a flight for her. I bought a flight for another person.
Right.
What am I thinking? And now we're up to close to 60 flights a year now for actors and artists and, bringing all these people in. So it's amazing what has progressed, but it depends. Every show, every state, believe it or not, when you do shows in different states, communities are completely different. You wouldn't, you don't see it if you just visit, but if you do shows there and you get to know the communities, there is not one community that we have a show in that's exactly the same.
Wow.
So, Reb Brown, Captain America, did extremely well in Idaho and not so well in California. I mean, he did good. But he didn't have a 2-hour line to get autographs in California as he did in Idaho.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it's the different cultures. It's different way of thinking for each community and different fandoms. I look at the first CampbellCon, I would get any guest. Now what we do is we look at the communities and we talk about what guest would be good for these, so we try to match the guests and
to the area.
Yeah, I get 50 emails a day from agents and actors wanting to come to the shows.
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, Gem State Comic Con for 2014 is already booked. It's already booked. We already have the actors for that. So, but we kind of want to make sure we have the right actors for the right shows in the areas.
How long did it take for you to get to that point where it wasn't you on the phone calling all these people, but people are now starting to call you saying, "Hey, you got a spot for my dude?"
Yeah, it took we had CampbellCon, and then in 2015, then 2016 we had 2 shows. We had California Republic and CampbellCon, and then we had Powerhouse. Then we had 3 shows. Once we got the 3 shows in 1 year, agents and actors started to notice. We were able to do things like at Powerhouse, we had a Aliens reunion with like 4 alien actors,
Wow.
So those things started to come up where we started to take notice. If you go to any of the websites, we have an archive page which has an archive of every show that we've done.
Right.
And what agents and actors do, they go to the archives and they see what actors have been to the shows previous years.
Right.
And they'll be like, "Hey, my friend was at that show 3 years ago. I'm going to see if I can do it." So, and then they call us, and that's kind of how it all happens.
Wow. Well, if you need any Squid Game actors, let me know. I have access to 2 Squid Game actors.
Oh, okay.
Do people follow you around from state to state? Will people go from Oregon to California to Idaho?
Yeah, we have forever passes where people can buy a forever pass. I think it's for like $89.99 now. Wow. And you can buy that, and that allows you to go to that local show forever for the rest of your life. It's free, and you can just go to the show, and you also get access to the green room where you can eat with the celebrities. You get free lunch forever with every
My goodness.
When you go to the show. Right. So, and then you have what we call, we weren't copying Fifth Element, but we have what we call a multi-pass.
Right.
And the multi-pass allows you, it's a little bit more than the other pass, but it allows you to go to every single show that we do everywhere. So we have people who the first people from California, they were buying the multi-passes when they first came out. So we have a lot of people from California who have the multi-passes, who will drive to Reno, who will drive to Oregon, and we'll see a lot of them at a lot of our shows. And there are some people who they have the multi-pass and they only go to our shows. That's the only conventions they do. So,
wow.
And
I got to ask you for, and again, I have done cons and just trying to figure out how it works with you. It seems to me, I see the multi-pass or the multi-year, the forever passes, right? Mm-hmm. And I always think, I was like, God, isn't that a money loss? Isn't that a money loser for you? Because I can understand, okay, the first year or two, you've made your money because it's more expensive. But after they've gone to like 4 or 5 of them, you're now losing money on those passes, right? Or is it that they're bringing people with them?
Well, a lot of times, this is interesting you say that. A lot of times someone will buy a multi-pass and then the next year 4 or 5 family members will buy the multi-pass.
Oh,
it's like one family member will kind of be the guinea pig.
Right.
And then next thing you know, they're more and more. And then they start coming as families, and they start coming every year, and it becomes a tradition for them every year. And, a lot of times, like CampbellCon, we had forever passes out there, some of the early ones. And, a guy would buy a forever pass, and he was a single guy. Well, 3 years later, he's married, and now he's having kids. And now, they become our family. The first year or two, they have multi-passes. We see them. They show the multi-pass. They come in. 3rd, 4th year, we're shaking hands. 5th, 6th year, we're hugging each other. Hey, how's it going? We haven't seen each other in a long time. It becomes like that. and if we take a money loss after like the 6th or 7th year, at that time they're family. So
right. You're just feeding your cousin at that point.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Has there been any of your shows that have stood out to you for one reason or another? Maybe it was things were going bad and you just didn't think the show was going to go off and then it turned spectacular, or maybe it was an artist that you loved for a long time and you got him to your show, or is there any one that kind of sticks out to you in your memory?
Yeah, well, for shows, honestly, we can say that because of Marina and her expertise in business, we have always been in the black. We have never been in the red. We've never lost revenue on any show, and that goes 100% to her. She takes a lot of credit. She does everything. I only get the guests, book them, negotiate with the agents, and get their flights and hotels. But besides that, Marina does the rest of it, and it's all because of her doing that we stay in the black. Now, in the beginning, I grew up watching, Buck Rogers. So, I would end up getting Gil Gerard and Felix Silla for our shows. And they did 2 shows for us. Mm-hmm. And they became our friends. And, we would go to Las Vegas and see Felix and hang out and talk to Felix. And he was like my second dad in many ways.
Wow.
And when he passed away, we flew to Vegas, went to the funeral. Right after the funeral, got back on the plane and went home. That's how important he was to us. Right. So he was more than just a special guest. And same, with Gil, we had a lot of Thai dinners with. Right. But you grow up with these actors, and you're eating dinner with them, and you're thinking in the back of your mind, when you were 8 years old, they were your idols, and here you are having dinner with them. And
right.
Could you ever believe this was happening? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you get those moments of clarity where you cannot believe you're hanging with someone or cutting a deal with someone that you idolized as a child.
Right.
Nowadays, going on 10 years of doing conventions, the first couple of years I would get all their autographs, make sure I take photos with the actors, all into it. Right.
Right.
This is awesome. Now it's kind of like, okay, let's get him to the hotel. Let's get him to the show. Let's get him home.
Right.
I look at actors differently now. And in a way I've become desensitized, and I don't know if that's good in a lot of ways, but it makes sure I make sure that they're safer. So I guess as long as I'm doing good.
Do you think that makes it easier or more difficult as a producer? Kind of when you're talking about being desensitized. And what I mean is, okay, so we work in the saber industry, and a lot of times you hear about people that are installers for lightsabers, and they start off as a hobby. They're fixing their lightsaber, their friends, and then it turns into a career, and then it loses its fun. It's no longer, now they're looking, they wake up in the morning and they got 5 orders in front of them, and this is their day. For you as a producer, right, do you feel like, not being more on the business side now as opposed to the fanboy side, has it lost its luster, or is it just a different type of luster now?
It's just a different type of luster now. It helps in a lot of ways when you're doing contracts with actors or agents. Like, Gil Gerard, if he said to me, I'm only coming for this amount and I will not come unless I have this amount. And in my back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, it's too much. I can't have him at that amount. Right. But it's Buck Rogers. He's my idol. I have to have him. I have to see him. He has to come. So, you take the risk of bringing him out for maybe something you can't afford.
Right.
So nowadays, now that you've become accustomed to actors, if an event like that happens, you just say, sorry, this is as high as I'm going to go on a deal. And it's either you take it or leave it. And if you leave it, that's fine. I got 100 other actors that could be in your spot. So that's the difference, But in regards to fun, it's still a lot of fun. It still doesn't feel 100% like working, Right. It's because you're seeing, like I said in the beginning, just kids having a great time. And, I'm not a young guy in my 20s, but I'm not an old guy either. But I'm thinking 40 years from now, 50 years from now, there's a kid going to a convention. He's maybe 8 years old, and 40 years from now, he'll be 48 or whatever. I'll be gone.
Right.
And I remember my very first show was CambleCon.
Right.
And so for me, I'll be long gone, but there'll be someone walking the earth who had that as their first show. And I guess to a promoter or a producer, that's kind of the legacy you leave.
Right. Is this, if you don't want to answer this question, feel free not to, but is this your main source of income, or do you have to work a 9 to 5 as well? Or
I'm pretty transparent, so it's okay. No, I'm still writing. I'm still writing, and I still get residuals from my books. You know how actors get checks from maybe a show they did 20 years ago?
Right.
I still get residual from my books. I own 2 other businesses that I run besides conventions, but that is only overlooking product, or it's overlooking, just managerial stuff.
Right.
Not actually doing the hardcore laboring of those businesses.
Right.
But I would say close to 80% of what I do in regards to business is conventions.
Wow.
So it's basically, you're working from home on your computer on these 6 conventions for 1 year or 7 of them. And you work from home on them all day, every day. And then you make sure you're at that show to do the show. And then after the show, you go back home.
And start working on the next one.
Yeah, but exactly. And we have a storage facility. So last year we stored arcade cabinets for II Arcade and shipped them out to our conventions. This year we have a James Bond actor. Well, he's older now and he can't lug books on the flights anymore. So Simon & Schuster sent a bunch of boxes to the storage facility so we can store his comic books, and
nice.
we can ship them to the venue. And there's so much going on that and when you're doing 6 shows, it's got to be full time, and we do just fine with it. So
right. The comment that I want to make that I find interesting, I've done 3 cons myself. We called them Kyber Con. But the thing is when you were saying that you don't bring actors back or they're on a limited run, for me as a producer, that is amazing, because I feel like for instance, I've had Tim Donaldson, who was a Jawa in the original Star Wars movie. He's been to all 3 of my cons. I've had, C. Andrew Nelson. We've had Squid Game actors. I've had famous YouTube celebrities. But, I feel like you build these relationships because it's so hard to get them in there in the first place. You spend all this time building this relationship, and now it's like, see ya, have a nice life. That is just amazing to me that you wouldn't, bring them back at an Oregon show or at a different show. Well, maybe a year later.
Yeah. Well, I do build a relationship with these actors. In fact, I talk to Reb Brown at least once a week. We talk on the phone. And they do become your friends, some of them.
Right.
And, that's the pleasure of having 6 or 7 shows, is they do, like, say, a show in California. Well, they'll never appear at that one again.
Right.
But they will be appearing in the Reno one. So you do see them multiple times, but in different states. And Reb and I are already talking about bringing him to Beaver State Comic Con, only because because we do these like Captain America packages, where a Captain America fan can go on the website and get a Captain America package with a Funko Pop, a ticket, 5 posters, some comic books, autograph vouchers, entry into the show, gets everything in one package. They just have to, show that they paid for it. They get the package and they're set for the day or the 2 days at the convention.
Right.
And we ordered loads of Captain America pops for Silver Age.
Right.
And the distributor says, okay, they'll be there in June. Well, then you get a call. Well, now they won't be there till November.
Oh,
right. So I spent hundreds upon hundreds of dollars on a Captain America pop I can't use.
Right.
So I tell Reb about it, that we can't do this one specific Funko package, and he's bummed about it. And I said, well, we do have Beaver State. I don't want to waste money on those pops. Maybe we can bring you out to Oregon just to do the packages.
Right.
So, you know, and things like that happen. But no, they become my friends. And a lot of times, Reb and I always talk about me going out to like Tennessee where he lives, or him coming out just to hang out,
Right.
So it becomes something that's just not at conventions, but it just becomes real friendships. And I'm that way with a lot of the actors. I mean, if I lost my phone at a bus stop and someone picked it up, knew the code, and was able to go through my list of people on my phone, they'd be shocked at the names that I have there.
Right.
And, some of the avatar actresses, the voice actresses, I'll talk to. There's a couple of them, one specifically who's, like a daughter to me, and we talk about things and stuff going on in her life or whatever. And, it's just, like I said, it becomes more than just being a guest and promoter. So,
wow, that is absolutely amazing. Do you see yourself? Well, first off, I do want to make another comment too. One of the things I really appreciate about Powerhouse, and my only experience with you has been through Powerhouse and oddly CampbellCon. I didn't know that was you, but Powerhouse and CampbellCon. One thing that I really like, I go to a lot of these cons as a vendor, and you see all different things from OhanaCon, which is a very kind of stripped down. Maybe they'll have a celebrity there. It's mostly about the vendors and the cosplay. Then you see things like SAC Anime, where they've got panels where you can, go listen to the people speak, or they have, other things going on. What I really appreciate about you is it seems like you put a lot of thought, not just into the basics of the con, but extra little add-ons. Like you were just talking about, buying all those Captain America things so that people can, have product that is, appropriate for that con. Do you try to think of new little ways every time? Like, oh, what if we do this? Or do you just kind of have a set thing and this is how we do a con, lay it out? Or are you trying to evolve your cons?
Every single year we're evolving our cons. We're thinking about new things, trying new things. I will be like in the middle of nowhere camping or hiking, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe this.
Right.
And like if Marina's with me, she'll go, what are you talking about? How about we do this next year? Right. Isn't this amazing? So we're always thinking, even when we're not working, we're thinking. Right. We're thinking about how to do things. Like, for example, there was one show where cosplayers are talking about how they're hot, and they get hot in their uniforms and things like this. And we love cosplay. We truly care about the cosplayers. We want them to be as comfortable as can be.
Right.
And so I thought about this, and this was like 3-4 days ago. And I went to Marina. I said, I have an amazing idea. You're not going to believe it. She says, what? I said, well, one of the cosplayers was saying it's difficult for them to change from one costume to another on the same day because they want to change outfits and be different characters.
Right.
And, they would have to go home to do it or go to the car to do it. Where they'd possibly be exposed, or in the public bathroom at the show where they can be exposed.
Right.
And, it's just not safe for the cosplayer. So I was thinking, how can we change that? And I thought, well, the other day I was out trying on jeans, and, when you go, I don't know, to like a Walmart and they have like changing rooms.
Right. The fitting rooms. Yeah.
And I said, why don't we have little changing rooms for cosplayers? So they can, and then we have someone who watches, those rooms,
right?
And it's away from the show a little bit, maybe down the hall,
right?
And where there's complete privacy, and a cosplayer can take a number, change in or out of their costume.
Right. I love it.
As freely as they want. And she goes, that's an amazing idea. So we are going to do that next year for one of our shows and try it out as a test.
Right. No, I love it. I hear about that all the time, especially people going to like Star Wars Celebration where it's a 3-day and they have a different costume for each day. But I know that, I'm sure there's plenty of people that would do 2 costumes or 3 costumes in a day if they were given the choice. Right. You have a question up here. Is Burton Gilliam going to make it to Gem State next year? Burton Gilliam?
He's not scheduled for next year. But Burton Gilliam from Blazing Saddles was scheduled to be at Gem State Comic-Con last year, but his granddaughter ended up getting into an accident.
Oh my goodness!
Where it was possible paralysis for life.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, and he had to be there at the surgery for his granddaughter. He could not leave it.
Right.
So he had to cancel. This year we just had a whole different game plan. So he's not going to be there this year, but maybe 2025, maybe some other at some other convention of ours. But not for a while, anyways. So yeah.
Wow. Well, Dave, I hate to say this, but this time, whenever I'm having fun on interviews, the time just goes so fast. We're running out of time here. Did you have any last thoughts or things that you want to leave people with before we get off? I do want to remind people, if you have not bought your tickets yet, tickets are still available for Silver Age in Reno. That's going to be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., not this Saturday, but the Saturday after. Kyber Cave will be in the house. Distance Nerding will also be in the house. So if nothing else, make sure to come hang out with us. Is there any other words of wisdom you want to leave people with?
Yeah, we don't talk a lot about vendors. It's usually guest and cosplayers, but Marina, she's the one who handles all of the vendors and exhibitors, and she does an amazing job at making sure that the vendors are well taken care of. We know that there are a lot of conventions out there that are $400, $500, $800 for a table. Right. And we do everything possible to keep the price down and to make sure that vendors make table and promote them. I think we promote vendors better than any convention in the world.
Wow.
We promote them like guests if you ever look at our social media. And, just so the vendors remember, hey, come to our events always, because we will always treat you like family. And we respect you, and we want you there all the time. We love the vendors just as much as the special guests. And if you feel that you don't want to do shows anymore because you've been to other conventions and you weren't treated properly, right, come home. We will treat you properly. we will treat you like family.
Oh, I absolutely love Powerhouse, and I've often felt before I did lightsabers, and before I was a preschool teacher, I used to do live shows. I used to do a lot of live stage shows. I was a spoken word poet, and one of the things that I've always felt is the energy that your director gives off dictates the type of people that will come to that show. And I've never met anything but the most fantastic people at your shows. I've been to your shows twice as a vendor. And both times I've just the customers that come through, everybody's so polite and, right, they're just there to have a good time. So I will definitely vouch for that. And I'll tell you right now, if you ever come up with one of those forever passes for vendors, sign me up.
That would be expensive.
Hey, it'd be well worth the money. Yeah, Dave, I want to thank you so much. You've been an absolute joy to talk to. I'd love to have you on again, when you have other shows in your other states, as things are coming up for you. I'd love to have you on on the show again, and just to let people know what Collosus Girl is doing.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, absolutely. Open door. I'd love to come anytime. I am one person. I'm not 100% the CEO of Collosus Girl Entertainment. That's Marina.
Right.
But I am kind of the mouthpiece because I have a bigger mouth. And I am more than happy. I do radio shows a lot. I do podcasts, and even podcasts who are intimidated maybe to approach me. Listen, you can come up to me anytime. I'm more than happy to help out new podcasts. I'm more than happy to go on established podcasts. It doesn't matter. If you want me, I will be.
Have you, on that note, have you talked to Jimmy Jones over at Pop Culture Kaboom in Reno on 95.7, I believe?
I love Jimmy. Jimmy is like a brother to me. In fact, my only complaint about Jimmy is him and we can never hang out.
Right.
We're always so busy. I mean, no, I love Jimmy. And I've been doing his show for, I think, 3 years now.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, Jimmy's a great person.
He is. He's amazing. And like you said, everyone who's kind of related to our shows, from vendors to attendees, they're always part of that same mold. Very, very cool to hang out with, very nice people. And those are the kind of people that you want.
Right.
We've been doing shows since 2014, 2015. And you know what? We've never had any incident. Everyone gets along. How great is that? You can go to a show, everyone just gets along.
When you can get 40,000 people into the same room and nobody's knocking each other's lights out, that's a testament right there.
Right. And, we've heard a lot of things that go on at cons, and you know what? We are so family friendly, but that's how we approach things as well, that, anyone can come and it's all a good time.
I absolutely love it. Dave, thank you again so much for being with us here tonight. I want to remind everybody, you can check down in the descriptions. You can find out more about Colossal Girl Entertainment, the shows that they have, not only in Reno, but the shows that they have on the calendar this year. Make sure to go check that all out, and hopefully we will see you there at Silver Age Comics. Dave, have a beautiful night. We appreciate you.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right. Let's go.
I forgot to remove them. I was so focused on watching the video, and I was like, I shouldn't worry about watching the video. I'm the one who made the dang thing.
Okay. Gives you a bigger appreciation for what we were doing, huh?
Yes, sure. Anyway, all right. Thank you, Dave, for coming on our show. Really, very much appreciate it. I really much enjoyed that interview. That was a lot of fun to listen to and watch. I was just chatting with everyone in the comments about how cool it would be just to be a guest at a con. I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't want to ever necessarily think that will actually happen for me, but that the idea of that, I will dream and I'll dream about it, and who knows?
What's funny is you were on your way already. You don't see it happening, but for those that don't know, this channel is growing. And once I start hitting the road to more of these cons outside of California, I'm hoping to get KCP stuff going up more and more. We are in the top. This trips me out. By having over 1,000 subscribers, we are in the top 9% of all YouTube. I didn't realize that the bar was that low, but still, it just goes to show you how hard it is to accumulate that first 1,000 people.
Yeah, it's harder than a lot of people really imagine it being. All right, so Kevin Hogan, there's cosplay guests, exhibitor guests, not just celebrities from movies. Yeah, just like any kind of guest, I would be honored to be asked to be a guest at a con. Freaking amazing. All right, so moving on, guys, we have
Kevin Hogan.
Speaking of Kevin Hogan is our producer for Comic-Con Adventures. Every week, he gives us a report on conventions about ones he just visited, how it went, what happened, and what ones are to come. So please enjoy.
Hello everyone, this is Kevin Hogan from Northern California with an episode of California Comic-Con Adventures. On the weekend of June 17th through the 18th, 2023 was Sinister Creature Con. This was the summer edition. Sinister Creature Con, as some of you may know, has 2 events every 6 months, twice a year there in Northern California there at the Scottish Rite Center in Sacramento there. This is a horror-themed Comic-Con there. They have lots of horror movie-themed celebrities come to visit. This time we got to meet Nick Castle there. He played Michael Myers from the Halloween franchise. We also got to see Jeff Anderson and Brian Halloran from the Clerks movie franchises there, and a few other celebrities there. So it was really fun to get to see them, plus all the great cosplayers there doing the cosplay contest there, the skeleton face painting contest there, and of course all the spooky arts and crafts vendors there at the vendor hall there. So it was a great time. If you're ever in the Sacramento area during Sinister Creature Con, definitely recommend checking that out there. Plus, it's always great to have free parking at the Scottish Rite Center. Also, on the weekend of Sunday, June 18th, 2023, our friends over at Ohana Comic-Con visited Pacifica, California. Ohana Comic-Con, as you know, travels to a different city up and down the state of California every weekend, hosting another Comic-Con in a different city, sometimes 2 Comic-Cons in the same weekend in different towns there. They're very economical events to visit whenever they come to a town near you. Definitely recommend checking them out there. Usually admission's less than $10 there. Local moose and elk lodges there. They often have free parking in the areas they visit there. It's a great chance to meet local artists and vendors there. They do commissions, get to buy some interesting samurai swords and stuff there, and neat sports memorabilia there. And they often have cosplay contests in the afternoon around 2:30, so it's a great chance to hang out with friends and see some fun costumes. And for those of you looking forward to future events there, upcoming on the weekend of July 1st to the 4th is going to be BayCon 2023. That's at the Santa Clara Marriott near San Jose. And that's going to be kind of like a sci-fi author-based Comic-Con there, with lots of cosplay and fun panels going on there. Also on the weekend of July the 2nd in Hanford is going to be Ohana Comic-Con, making a visit there to Hanford. And also there's going to be on the weekend of July the 8th in San Francisco, the NorCal Cosplay Gathering and HumanCon Summer Gathering going on. And also on the weekend of July 8th to the 9th over in Stockton is going to be StocktonCon Summer Edition there. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the pics, and we'll see you out there at the next Comic-Con.
You know what I was just thinking?
What
I
were
see
you,
Kevin.
no. When you think, I'm not sure.
Don't you see the smoke coming out? I was just thinking, I see Kevin at so many of these damn shows, and we never get pictures of Kyber Cave on these reviews.
Oh,
We're there too, Kevin. Thank you
I'm
so
not
much,
here.
Kevin.
See, you're like yelling at Kevin, but I'm the one hearing it too. I'm like, oh, don't yell at me.
Sorry. Yes, we are going to be, on that note, next weekend. Just Kevin's got a comment here about first weekend in July is Heroes and Villains in Benicia. Kyber Cave will be there at that event, as well as we signed up for the Hello Kitty event next month behind that too. That'll be very interesting. I might show up with a little bow on my head. And then the weekend after that, Kyber Cave will be in Reno at Silver Age Con. So we are going to go up there, and I hope to see you guys out. But you can always go to our website, kybercave.com. We have a calendar on there if you want to find out where we are going to be at live. We do have a storefront here in Vacaville, but it is our mission to be out into more and more of the conventions. And I just recently bought a Honda Element because as before, we pretty much stuck within a 2 to 3 hour radius of Kyber Cave. Our goal is to get out of California this year. So you will be seeing us more and more on the road, my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to remind people really quickly that we are only 46 people away from our next Saber giveaway. So please like this show, comment, subscribe, and share it with your friends. The more that you do that, the sooner we are to our next giveaway. And we are giving away a cross guard next giveaway. So
awesome.
I know people will be excited for that.
And I also want to take a moment to just mention next week's guest that I'm very excited about. So next week's guest is a YouTuber I've actually watched for years. His name is Jesse Cox. He is he's helped create games. He's done voiceover for games. He did a voiceover in Cyberpunk. Yes, I know. Saying a saber.
Yeah.
And I'm really, after being a viewer of his, watcher of his, sounds creepy when you say watcher, viewer of his for years. I also creepy. Anyway, all right. My husband and I have watched him and his buds on the group. It's called Scary Game Squad that is on his YouTube channel. Like that's one of our go-to like date night in videos. We watch their series, and it's really just so much fun. So he will be on our show next week. I am super excited. And this Wednesday for the gaming stream in the morning, I'll be playing a game that he was involved in creating called Monster Prom, which looks hilarious. So make sure you tune into that. And don't forget about all of our shows that are down in the description below. We can check them all out. We have one every day of the week right now.
Every day of the week.
And new shows that are being discussed in like the pre-production stages and stuff like that. So go ahead and check those out down below. And don't forget to check on our Facebook because we have a code on a post for 10% off of our merch. We have a merch store, people. Merch.
KCPmerch.com. So the two websites, remember, kybercave.com, kcpmerch.com, and then, of course, youtube.com.
So check out the link in the description below. At the very bottom is our link tree. It takes you to the store for kybercave.com. It takes you to kcpmerch.com. And join our Discord. That's also linked in the description below, in the link tree. So, as you know, we always end out our show with the talk of the town. And also I want a big thank you to Aubrey who created the music that we played during our Patreon thank you roll. So thank you very much for that. And you guys have a wonderful week and we will catch you